Good morning, everyone. We've had a directive from head office. Due to a repositioning of our business, we need to implement changes in our area. We are going to have a restructure, and we are relocating to our other building across town. We need to do it fast, within the next 3 months. I don't have much more than that at the moment. Good news though, we have Sally to be our change manager on this, to help us transition.
What's going on? Will I have a job after this?
I don't like where we are going. I'm looking for a new job tonight. This is going to be a challenge. I don't even know where to start. Hopefully Sally can help.
Information is all over the place. There's no change management approach. These templates are so cumbersome to use. People are getting scared and difficult to deal with. I better talk to Mary about this. Mary, managing this change is becoming a real challenge. I could really use some guidance and tools to help.
Introducing the Change Roadmap, a guiding framework, process, and tool to manage the people side of change. The Change Roadmap helps you navigate through your change process, manage all those stakeholders, and enable your change management. Whatever the Change Roadmap manages the complexity to reduce stress, allowing you to do your change work more effectively, leading to an organized and effective transition. The Change Roadmap is designed for all those tasked with managing change.
Well, hello and welcome to the world premiere of the Change Roadmap. Good to have you on board. I apologise that if you were listening to the nice music earlier, every time somebody wanted to be admitted into the room, it would stop the music. So I couldn't play it all for you non-stop. Now, many of you on the call, I already know. You already know me, and that's probably through the work I've done, or perhaps through training I've run in the past. So good to have you on board for the launch of the Change Roadmap. If I haven't met you, then great that you're joining in to see the start of the Change Roadmap, and hopefully we can meet properly at some point in the future. The Change Roadmap. Let me, we're here today to so I can show it all to you. What I'd like to do though is just set it up with why. Firstly, after all, this is a change in itself. So why am I coming out with a new product for change management? Well, it starts because of a lot of what I've heard, learnt over the years is the challenges that people have in change management. I mean, change management is a tough gig. Okay, is it not? For those people in it, you know, it's a tough gig. And one part of it is learning, of course, all the theories, the principles, you know, the various frameworks, etc., out there. So learning all about the theory first, people can get that. There's a lot out there that will give you that. And that's, you know, a lot of what I trained people in previously. But what people would tell me is, and I found this through my own experience, of course, is that when you take all that and then you go back to work, you need something very practical to actually be able to apply it. So applying all that knowledge and the principles, etc., to then apply it in the context of normally some sort of project, you know, an initiative of some sort. So it just doesn't happen on its own, change management. Of course, it has to work in with your organization and your project. There might be a project methodology it has to sort of align with. All of that happens. And of course, people need a vehicle to help them with things like, you know, perhaps a guiding framework. How do I collect my data? Where do I put all my data, my documents, etc.? That's the vehicle that people then struggle with to actually be able to apply change management at a practical, you know, in a practical way, day to day. That's where the Change Roadmap is going to come in. So a couple of housekeeping things. You would have noticed where we are recording. Okay, so a few people couldn't be here today. There are some people watching from overseas, and it's a very bad time for them at this time. So they will catch up later. Okay, the other thing you've noticed, you're on mute. Okay, and so we'll get to the end. If you have any questions along the way, if you wouldn't mind putting them in the chat, put them in the chat, and we will have a questions period at the end of the presentation. All right. Let us go back to the slides and we'll walk through exactly what the change roadmap is all about.
Good morning,
Okay, we've seen that.
everyone.
What is the change roadmap? I gave you the why earlier. So now let's talk about what exactly it is. And it says here, of course, a change management platform that provides a framework, process, and software tool all in one for performing people change management on organizational initiatives. So there you're getting the picture. We're calling it a platform because it combines the process, the framework, and a software tool to manage the data is what it has all in one. That's the simple explanation of what the change roadmap is. Question is, what will it do for me? Okay, how will it help me? Well, firstly, what I just said, the fact that you've got the framework, the process, and the tool all bundled seamlessly into one solution. You don't have to go to different places. You don't have to look up a methodology. You don't have to look up many templates. It brings it all together for you. Simple, practical, efficient. Now, I'm going to show you this in a second, but a flexible underpinning framework that supports other models, frameworks, methodologies, theories to be applied within it. So it's not a prescriptive methodology that you're going to get. You're going to get a framework that guides what happens, but you can use all the approaches that you might prefer. It gives you that flexibility to use within it. So it's a balance of giving you a guiding structure and giving you the flexibility of whatever approach you want to use. Now, as I alluded to earlier, it also aligns to project management methodology. So standard project approaches, including agile type approaches, it will align to those. It will allow you to use your change management in sync with your project management. And I know that tends to be a pain point for some people, making sure that your change management is integrating nicely with your project management. It's going to provide a real-time vehicle for your data capture. So, I mentioned templates. Typically we use templates to capture data. This is a digital vehicle. It's a web-based software tool. You'll be able to capture all your data. That means it reduces all those templates that you might have to use. It can sometimes be cumbersome. The data is entered once and captured. You can also link documents outside. You might have a PowerPoint presentation you've done, or many, and you can link it to this, to a particular area where it's relevant in the change roadmap. So basically, it becomes this one window, a central window to all your change data. And there are key views and reports. So it captures all the data, and the beauty of having a digital tool is, of course, it can present it back to you, and it will actually do a little bit of analysis for you and present it back in some key ways using heat indicators that are going to draw your attention to the areas that you might want to focus on. So it does that bit of analysis for you to save you time, save you effort, knowing where your priorities may lie. All right. I better explain what it isn't. Okay, it's not going to give you a document management system. I said it stores your data. It doesn't store your documents, but as I said, you can link to other documents. Okay, so you still have most organizations have their own document management system. We're not going to confuse things by adding another one. Then it sort of, confuses things as to which one I go to. Just admit someone into the group. It is not a project management or portfolio management tool. Its focus is change management, so it won't create project management artifacts. However, it does support and contribute to them. Yes, again, let's not try and make it something else. It's about change management. We'll leave the project management and portfolio management to those areas, but it will align very nicely and help with some things towards the project management. It is not a big data analytics tool to send you into analysis paralysis. Well, look, you can find, there are other tools that you can find to, if you want lots of pie graphs and, a lot of analysis of your data, and maybe, some initiatives you may need that. This will give you key ones because it's about being practical. It's about helping you action things. So it'll give you key views, so online views and some reports. We'll look at those in a minute. It's not a complex software tool. One of the things with the change roadmap is we didn't want to make it overly complex that you need a degree to run it. Okay, there aren't any technical integrations with other applications. We're keeping it very simple, secure as well by doing that. Its focus is change management. So that's what you'd call out of scope for the change roadmap. All right, so it's time to show you, firstly, the framework that underpins the whole thing. So I said it's a framework, process, and tool. The framework is the thing that underpins the whole change management platform. So I suggest, I've got a picture of popcorn there. I suggest you grab your popcorn, grab your cup of coffee, whatever it is. It goes for a few minutes, so it'll explain the whole framework for you.
The change roadmap is fundamentally a framework. It underpins the change roadmap platform. The framework depicts the components for managing change and their interrelationships, forming a logical, easy to understand and practical model. It begins with a three-phased change management lifecycle that provides the high-level phases for managing change on an initiative. It is important to note that whilst the phases are depicted sequentially and have distinct purpose, they may overlap. Prepare phase activities may start during discover and design. The embed phase may be occurring whilst prepare starts for the next iteration of change. The discover and design phase is to gather the necessary information about the intended change and design the best change management solution. It creates the plan. As change management is people-focused, the prepare phase focuses on preparing the stakeholders for the coming change. It executes the actions outlined in the change management solution. The embed phase is to embed the implemented change so that change sticks and becomes the new norm. This phase continues to execute the change management solution, with actions designed for the post-implementation period. Any organizational change will have a catalyst that starts the movement for change. This may be an external or internal force that manifests into the strategic driver. This is the why of the change which starts the change management journey. The vision provides a picture of the intended future state, aligning with the strategic driver. The why explains the background and provides direction. The what is the defining of what is changing in the organization. What aspects of the organizational system are going to be impacted? By defining the impacts, it defines the change itself and its further change implications. The change roadmap framework categorizes the organizational system into 4 major elements. You may have impacts in one or more of these areas. Firstly, technology. This examines the components of technology that the organization utilizes to enable its work. Is the change impact due to new or updated technology? Or does the change cause impact on existing technology? You can drill into detail to define the specific changes. Policy and process. This refers to the many areas of organizational policy or business rules, and the business processes that reflect them in carrying out the organization's work. Do these need to be altered, updated, or created? This is often a major area of impact, either directly or indirectly as a result of other changes. Structure and roles. This impact area is for organizational structural and role changes. This can include physical structure change, for example, an office relocation. With any organizational change, consider underlying skills impacts. Do people need new skills for their role? Culture. This category wraps around the others in the framework model. It depicts that culture is all-encompassing for an organization and the other categories can help drive or support it. To define cultural change impacts,
You might ask, will people need to think differently towards their work under the new vision? Value different things? Change their behavior to reflect the different thinking, or undo ingrained habits? At the center of the change roadmap, and deliberately so, are stakeholders to the change. The who. The people who are the focus of the change management effort. Apart from identifying who they are, information is gathered to determine such things as reasons for resistance, or reasons for positivity towards the change. What's the level of impact for them and what's their level of influence over the change? Progressively, what's their level of change readiness? On the right side of the model is the how, or change enablers. Enablers are the change management strategies and actions that will enable the transition of stakeholders from the current state to future state. The change roadmap categorizes them into 4 distinct areas. Enabler categories can be thought of metaphorically as organizational levers that are selectively pulled, where needed, to provide actions that enable the transition. This is the main portion of the change management solution. Firstly, there is learning. This is all the learning solutions intended to enable the transition of stakeholders. There are many different ways to deliver learning. Formal training being the common one. How is this intended learning to be delivered for each impacted stakeholder? Different stakeholders will have different needs for effective learning. This is where the learning plan is defined. Leadership. You might ask what leadership actions or activities will be helpful towards this change? Small changes may not require many. Major change, and particularly cultural change, may require significant leadership. An example would be having the CEO of the organization address all staff when a restructure of the organization occurs. Another would be to set up a network of change champions to lead their local areas throughout the change. Performance. Think of performance as performance management or support. How will the stakeholders' performance in taking up the change be managed and supported? Like performance management in a business as usual context, how do you set people up for success using this enabler in the change context? Examples might be freeing up the stakeholders' time capacity to enable them to focus on the change. Another would be to offer some type of incentive. What's the repercussion for individuals if the change is ignored? Communication. This major enabler wraps around the other enabler categories. This is because most change management actions will require some communication. So other enabler actions may also result in actions under communication. All the change-related communication for the initiative is outlined here, and mapped to each stakeholder, effectively designing the communications plan. Interestingly, whilst the enablers sit on the right side of the framework diagram, the change impact elements, the what, can be used as additional enablers to help drive or support the desired change. They are the more permanent, rather than temporary, enabling actions, being further changes instigated, in addition to the primary change. An example is an initiative may be implementing a new sales system and process. To make sure people follow the new way, it may be that only those sales that have come through the new system will be eligible for commission to the salesperson. This would be a policy change that supports the main change of implementing the new system and process. One that will help enable the desired change. Change thinking. As the change roadmap is a vehicle for applying change management practically, it is underpinned by the thinking in change. In other words, the world of change research, theories, models, other frameworks and learning that exist and continue to grow. The underpinning fields of psychology, neuroscience and other relevant sciences. In this way, the change roadmap allows flexibility in the approach. A desired change thinking approach informs the change management solution design for the initiative. All the components come together to form a practical framework for change management. The change roadmap.
All right, you've just had your first little piece of training in the change roadmap. And that is the framework as I explained. Now, hopefully, having seen that, you're sitting there saying, okay, yeah, no big deal. Yeah, okay, it might seem quite logical to you. And that would be the best result there, because what that diagram, that framework diagram is meant to do is bring all the components of change management into one page, basically. And you can see how they interrelate, which I can tell you, until you see it done, it may look simple, but often change management can be confusing to people because of all those components are sort of disparate or talked about, not as a combined entity. All right, that's the framework. So everything now builds on that. The tool, I'm about to show you the tool itself and the process that goes with it, and it uses that framework throughout. So let's go again. I'm just going to set it up for you so we can go onto the tool. Here we go. This is the Change Roadmap tool. Now, what I'll do, we could spend hours going through all of this because there's a fair bit to it, but you'll be glad to know I'm giving you the condensed version today. Firstly, what we're looking at is when you log in, this is where you'll come to, and it's where you started initiative. So you can see new change initiative name. You can choose the organisation. Now, you might only have one organisation, but some organisations have subsidiaries. So you might want to choose those subsidiaries. And if you can actually have the change roadmap as a single user. For instance, if you're a consultant that works across different organisations, you can put those different organisations in there. I'm just going to walk through the menu items up the top. So you can see here, this gives you, we're in the new initiative view right now, but then you can view all your active initiatives. There's a status you can have on initiatives. You can have inactive initiatives. So they're still going, but they may be paused for some reason. You've got your completed ones and even deleted ones if that was done in error. Just note there are, not everyone has access to things like delete. There's a change administration role, which is the highest level access that you get. I'll talk about that just a little bit later. In reporting, I'll show you a bit of reporting very shortly, but that's one of the powerful areas. There are reports at an initiative level. There's even a program, what we call a program canvas. We'll show you the initiatives under a program. And there's a stakeholder impacts heat map, which is a very valuable report, which will show you all of the impacts or the timing of the impacts to your stakeholders. So if you've got a stakeholder that's being hit by multiple initiatives, it'll give you a little visual of when they're being hit with those initiatives. That's the reporting. Then we've got the admin. There's some admin functions. As I said, there's a change administrator access, and there are central lists that are used throughout when you're doing your initiatives. They can set those up. I do have some templates in there. That's actually for change readiness. There are some templates. They're the main ones that I'll show you today. What we'll do in the interest of time, we're not going to start a new one. I'm going to go to one I prepared earlier and just show you the sorts of input screens that you get when you are inputting to the change roadmap. So these are, what you're seeing now is firstly the process I talked about. So this process are the key steps that would take you from the start through to adoption. Okay, it is very flexible in that you enter it where you want to enter it, where you have the data to enter. You can enter it at some things at a high level, some things at a detail level. The process is set up. You can see second step here, high level impacts. So it's actually set up so you can do a pass through with high level information because that's all you've got at the moment. And it also might be because you're aligning to your project management lifecycle where maybe a business case is being done or some sort of proposal. So you want high level information about the change management component to contribute towards that. Then you can come through again and start adding detail as you're doing your full planning, for instance. And you can plan as much as you like or as little as you like. That's up to you, but it gives you the mechanism to do that. The first 4 steps of the process, I'll just let you know, the first 4 steps are about the discover part. Discover. So remember from the framework, we had discover and design. So the first 4 steps, discover, it's going to give you a picture of what your change is about. And we actually have a thing called the change canvas, which will actually show it to you. The last 3 steps are your change management solution. So in other words, what are we going to do as a result of the change picture we can now see? What are the things we're going to do? And that's your change management solution. Now you'll be able to walk through that when you're planning, and then you'll be able to walk through it wherever you need to then monitor and manage it and tweak it and all of that. This is real time, so there's no versions, it's all current. Okay, so they are the steps of the process, and under each step, you're going to find some data fields. So we won't go through them all because there's a lot if you want to use all of them, but you don't have to use all of them. It's what's relevant to you. You can see the first step being the overview step. It captures some general information about your initiative and some key things that explain the why, the driver, what's the objective, what's your vision here. That's that why from the framework. If I go to the next step, which is the high-level impact. So this is there, if you want to produce, for instance, a change management strategy, which is an early plan for what you're going to do, often contributes to, an early business case. Well, this will actually produce it for you based on what you put in as high-level information. So this high-level impact step asks you for some high-level information about the sizing. Okay, here we have some figures on how many people it's impacting, external, internal, etc. You have a summary of what's actually going to change. So these are the high-level impacts, using the 4 areas of the change roadmap as your guiding structure. The third step, now you may skip that high level if you don't need it, okay? But the third step is where the change roadmap starts to really help you with managing some of that detail, some of the complexity. So if you're on a complex change management initiative, you've got stakeholder by stakeholder. So when we talk detailed level, we're doing change management right down at that stakeholder level, not generally across the top. You can see what I've added here for this initiative. These are all the stakeholders or stakeholder groups that you have for this initiative. And so we gather information on each one. Now I'm just going to go into one of them. Let's go into Bendigo branch. There's one of our stakeholders, and this is all the data you can capture about your stakeholders or that particular stakeholder. So things like, what's their level of influence? So if you're familiar with the influence interest grid that we sometimes do stakeholder mapping, you basically be able to do that. What's their level of support currently? What do you require of them? What are their reasons for resistance, etc.? What's the level of resistance? What's a positive driver for them? So now I will point you to notice these little help boxes. So every field has help, okay, in order to guide you through. I will also tell you there's a full user guide under help. There's a user guide. So there's always help for you as you're going through if you're not sure what that's about. Now, I'll also point you to down here, we've got change readiness status. So as a stakeholder, there are stages they will go through to get to the point of change readiness. And of course, that's what it's all about. At the end, we're trying to get them to the point where they're able to take the change on. Now, if you had any other data you wanted to add, so, it's not one of the fields here, but you had something else, well, there's on every page, you'll find there's a box to add whatever else you want to add. And there's the link box. If you want to link any other documents, you can put the URL in there. So any cloud-based documents you can link here. Now it goes further. That's your stakeholder information you've just added. But what about if they're impacted and how are they impacted? That's where we get into detailed impacts for a stakeholder. Okay, and you can add them in. We've got one in here. It asks you for some specific detailed information about the impact. You can add as many of those as you need to. And that's how we make it very stakeholder-centric. Remember, the stakeholders right in the center. It is very stakeholder-centric. That's a detailed step, big step. Change readiness. Let's have a look at what change readiness does for you. This is where if you do change readiness assessments, this is across the whole initiative, this will actually give you a picture by choosing questions, and I've chosen a number of questions here. these questions, we give you questions that you can use, or you can choose to use your own. You can add your own question, and then you can rate it, okay, as to how, how strongly you disagree or agree with that statement, all to do with how ready are they. Now, one thing with the change roadmap is that change readiness in the change roadmap can apply in the discover and design phase, there, and then in the prepare phase. So there's 2 lots, and you can do them as many times as you like. You can overwrite, because it's real time. You overwrite and do another one. And those templates I showed you, I alluded to earlier, they actually give you the actual forms that you can send out to get that information. I'll show you, in fact, I'll show you now. Once you've done those 4 steps, remember I said to you that will produce a changed canvas for you. You've now entered information that'll give you a picture. So I'm just going to hit save here, because you'll see what it does. It's now saving everything in the steps before, and it says you can view your changed canvas. Let's have a look. There it is, the change canvas. It gives you that information, that general overview information that you entered. If I go further down, it starts to give you some heat indicators. So remember those high-level impacts we entered? It's now says, basically, because it's organizational, it's organization-wide, that's basically saying, it's giving you a red. So it uses these heat indicators. We've got reds on the external entities, because it's actually hitting customers and external entities being suppliers, and any other external stakeholders you have to your organization. So it's drawing to you to what might be important. There's the high-level impact areas you entered. And then we get to somewhere where you're going to spend a lot of time. And based on all that information that we may have entered for our stakeholders, for each of the stakeholders, this is your stakeholder register, in effect. Okay, so it replaces that Excel spreadsheet. It gives you heat indicators based on what you entered as to where you might want to put your attention. Okay, so you can see down here, we've got a red down here. Well, I'll explain, firstly, the first column. This is very valuable. There's the column to go and view all those detailed impacts. Now, you could have lots of detailed impacts for a stakeholder where you've itemized them, or you may have just bundled them all up into the one statement. That's up to you. But you can view that detail through here. So against the stakeholder, then we've got grouping. You can actually group your stakeholders. You can see the grouping. I've used states here, but it can be any grouping you believe. Now, if I actually, neat little feature, I just click on it, it then orders it in that way for me. We go to where we've got a heat indicator, the influence and interest ratings. Remember, we entered some influence and interest ratings. Again, it does a little analysis and tells you where the high ones are. Yellow means, well, their interest is low, or the influence is lowish, and then it goes up, amber, red. We get to this one, current support, required support. And it's saying, for instance, we've got one here, the branch managers, their current support level is critic, but we need them to be champions. So it's giving you a red because it's saying you've got a lot of work here, get these guys across the line. And they're also high influence. So it's giving you that information, pointing you to, this is a pretty important stakeholder. You've got your reasons for resistance that you may have entered with their ratings and so forth. Now it does scroll across. You can zoom into this so that it all fits onto the one screen if you want, or you can make it as big as you like. But I'll just scroll to the other end. You can see this change readiness status for each one. Now, eventually when they hit able, it'll actually turn green. So you can basically look at every stakeholder, each stakeholder, and see where they're at in their journey to change readiness. And the information before it will give you the information that you need to know where you might focus, what things you might do. It's giving you information on the stakeholder themselves and how they're impacted, which is pretty key information, you might think, to determining what your change management solution should be, or what actions you're going to take. One last thing I'm going to show you on this right-hand side is the change readiness. Remember, there was that change readiness step where we chose all the questions. So you had change readiness at a stakeholder level, individual stakeholder level. This is the overall level. And it's done, again, the heat indicators for you to show you, there's lots of red and amber there, meaning there's a fair bit of work to actually take on this initiative in the first place. So people need, quite a bit of work in the areas that the question's targeted to actually take on this initiative in the first place. Now, that sort of thing you might use to help you with what your change management strategy is straight off, knowing it gives you a very neat readiness score. 45% indicates that's how ready they are. Not quite ready. So in your change management strategy or plan at the start, you're going to need to address some of these things that are getting low scores. That is the change canvas that you get. Now, I'm going to go through fairly quickly because I know this is, it could be a little bit tedious if I'm just walking through it, not actually getting to use it, and in the interest of time. But the last 3 steps, as I said, are going to create your change management solution. I'm just going to jump to enablers. Enablers is the big one, because that's where you put what are we actually going to do as our change management effort. So firstly, you've got the high level. So if you want to articulate what your strategy will be based on what you learned through gathering all the data, and then you can get to detailed enablers. Again, at the stakeholder level, you can determine using the areas of the change roadmap framework. Remember that right-hand side of the framework. You can then put actions. In fact, I'll go into one of them. Let's go into Bendigo again. See what we had in there for Bendigo. And under Bendigo, there's at the moment just one action under leadership, and it's saying, you've entered what the need is in terms of leadership, what the solution is for leadership. We've got here that branch managers are going to be the conduit for their questions and concerns. And it's got a timing, etc. There's even a status that you'll enter. This is just showing what I've entered previously, but the actual data entry screen comes up with a status. So you'll be able to use this to see, well, where are we at with that particular action, that particular enabling action. That's enablers. So there's actually a lot under enablers, as much as you want to put in there, as little as you want to put in there. So those of you who follow more agile type practices, you may not go into great detail. Okay, you might be at post-it note level, and that's all you put in under each stakeholder. For those who want to articulate in more detail, you put in as much as you want. You can put in multiple enablers. The last step that the change roadmap handles for you is, again, then how do you intend to measure it? How do you intend to measure how the change is going? So this is typically the embed phase. Now, again, I mentioned Agile before. If you have multiple releases, so you're doing things in iterative style, you can add multiple adoption measure periods to reflect the multiple releases that you're doing. Again, this is at the stakeholder level, and I've just added some measures in here. So the branches will be measured by things like how many back office processes are running, how many front counter queries are coming, all those things. And you'll have your plan and your actual, this is how you track your adoption. And you'll see if you're actually meeting it, it'll tell you you're meeting it with a green. If you're not meeting it, it'll turn to red. That is the process and the pages. I'm just going to show you quickly the reporting, and then we'll finish this demo of the tool. Very neat in terms of reporting. This is the initiative I've been showing you. We saw the change canvas earlier. Let me give you a quick view of the change management solution. So similar setup, you'll always get the initial overview information at the start. So if somebody, stakeholder that has access to this can come in and view. If they're not up to speed, they can have a quick look to see, oh yeah, that's what that's about. And it replays what you entered in a nice format. It's also, there were risks in there. I didn't show you the risk section, but the risks, again, give you the heat indicators, tell you, and it tells you what you decided to do about them, the treatment of those risks. Now, all of this is updatable constantly. So if you update in the input screens, it immediately updates your reports for you. So you don't need to create reports, it creates it for you real time on the screen. There's our strategy, and there's our detailed enablers. Again, you can go in and view the detail in there. So you're going to spend a fair bit of time in the detailed enablers view, because when you're actually doing your change management, that's the actions are captured in there. And you'll spend a bit of time in that change canvas stakeholder register, because it's all the information about your stakeholders. Now, if I go back, I've shown you the two. It also produces a change management strategy for you and a change management plan. See, change management plan, if you do one of those, which can be quite a hefty document, it does it instantly based on what you have entered, let's go and have a look at the one for this initiative. There it is. It plays back what you've entered. So that's the detailed version. The strategy is the higher level version. Now, if you want, you can even download it as a Word document, and then you can play with it. You can, take out bits, add bits, whatever you want to do, reformat it, but it's done it for you. So hopefully that's going to save people a lot of time. And then the last one is the adoption tracking, which we had to look at. It's a similar report for that. That's the reporting at initiative level. I'll quickly show you at a program level. You can see if you've got multiple programs, change programs happening in your organization, you can get a picture of when they start, when they're meant to finish. So the timing of those programs, you get a view of that. Okay, so that might help you, strategize as to, when these programs should run. What's the capacity like to take these on? And the final report, I will show you the stakeholder impacts heat map. This will actually show you where all the stakeholders who are impacted by initiatives across your organisation, this shows you the timing of those impacts. Now, and also it breaks it up between 3 areas. When are they in training? Because you normally can't hit, people are going on training for something that's coming out. You don't want to hit them with another initiative's, impacts. You've got the adoption period. So it's just gone live. What's their adoption period? So stay away from them in that period, hence it's in red. And the initiative itself may be impacting them. So they might be representatives on the initiative, and therefore they're already using up some of their capacity. So it gives you a picture. You can see here the value of this is, look at the IT area here, getting hit by initiative 3, 1, initiative 3, a couple of areas, initiative 1. So there's 2 initiatives hitting the IT area, and you can see 3 and 1 are hitting them at the same time for a number of months. And then that helps you with, planning your capacity, whether IT can actually handle that or not, and what you need to do about it. Okay, that's all I might show you of the tool right now. Let's stop sharing for a second. All right. Hopefully, I know there's a lot of detail in there. Hopefully you've got a good understanding of what the tool might be capable of. There's a lot more to it. So I'm going to go back to the slide pack and we'll finish off. All right, that's where we were. Just quickly, who would use the change roadmap? Well, I would suggest all managers. I mean, all managers, because managers these days all have to manage change. It's part of the job. So give them this tool that helps, that guides them, gives them the vehicle to actually do it. Now, if they have the luxury of having a specialist change manager, great, change manager can use it, and they will be able to oversee it through this tool. I didn't mention there are 3 levels of access: the change administrator, a change manager, and a change stakeholder. The change stakeholder can get view access. So you can actually give the change roadmap to a key stakeholder who would like to be kept in the loop. Now, rather than you having to go and talk to them all the time, they can actually check for themselves if they want by just viewing. They can't edit anything, they can't create anything, they can just view those reports. The old accidental change manager, or someone who's new to change management. Okay, it says here change roadmap will be super helpful because it's going to give you the guiding framework and the process and the tool all in one to get going to help you. Now, if you're an experienced change practitioner, change manager, and you've got some complex change, it can handle the complexity. So I know from personal experience that complexity can sometimes be quite a challenge with the tools and the means that you have at your disposal. This will handle it all for you down at that stakeholder level and all the information and data that you have. For project managers, program managers, BAs, business improvement people, you may or may not have the luxury of a change manager on your initiative. This will give you the means to do it. Now, one thing I will point out is, I've shown you the tool and the process and the framework, etc. It's not recommended that you just jump straight into the tool unless you're a super experienced change management person. And there are various learning options to get you going. Okay, some quite easy. And even if you're super experienced, there'll be one that just shows you the platform. You don't get change management training, you just get the platform training. And I'll show you what those learning options are. Okay, so there's a half-day boot camp to just learn the platform. Basically what I just showed you, but in much greater detail, so that you learn every function there is. The Change Roadmap has its own certification course. It's a 3-day course in change management, and incorporated into that is learning all about the tool as well. So it isn't just the tool, it's actually learning change management at quite an advanced level and the tool together. So if you're experienced in change management, there is a 1-day course for you, Change Management Essentials, to get you going, and of course the half-day bootcamp on the platform. If you want the comprehensive learning, that's the certification course. I will say the certification course, because it covers all the principles and popular theories, etc., of change management, and covers the tool, you walk out being able to apply change management straight after. Now, of course, on the job, the Change Roadmap the organisation will offer coaching services as well. So when you get going with the Change Roadmap, you're just not on your own. We can come and provide coaching. Now, there's even project management, a 1-day course in project management essentials, because change managers need to know how projects work as well to be able to work in sync. There's your learning options. So let's get to the $1 million question. It's not $1 million, but how much does it cost? If you buy an individual license, so an individual license is for that person who might work across organisations. No other people can access the data in their initiatives that they're doing. That's, you can see, $229 per annum plus GST. If you're an organisation, you want people to share the information across initiatives, an organisational license, you buy them blocks of 5. So you might buy 5, 10, 15. You can have any levels of access you like. So you might have 3 people at change administrator level. You might have, I wouldn't have too many, by the way, change administrator level, because they get access to doing everything. You have change manager level, which then they can actually do most things, just not delete and managing the central lists, and stakeholder level, which are the people who view only. So you can mix it up however you like, but you buy in blocks of 5, and then you get quite a discount because when you buy an organisational one. Okay, that's the cost. So to wrap this part up, and then we'll just handle some questions. The Change Roadmap brings change management one-stop shop. That's what it's trying to do, so that you get efficiency in your change effort, and that should save you time and money. It makes managing change easier through having a best practice guiding structure, a process, and organising all of that data. It does support complex, detailed scenarios, enabling you to better manage your stakeholders for better outcomes. It has the automated views and reports to bring to you helpful information using those heat indicators that facilitate decisions and actions. It's all about being practical, getting decisions, actions, and being able to get on with them. Ultimately, it helps all those tasked with managing change to manage change. It's practical, it's flexible, it's scalable, so it'll handle small initiatives, large initiatives, and it's simple. All right, let's go to any questions. We'll have a look in the chat. I might just stop sharing to do that. We've got a few things in there. All right, let's see. Does the change management plan go down to task level and show you who was assigned the task so you can manage against it during the transition? So with that question, this is where I come back to the project management, change management alignment. The change roadmap won't manage tasks for you specifically, because your project management should be doing that. So all your change management tasks should be in your schedule for a project. Okay, so assigning it to somebody, that's all part of a schedule. Now I'm saying this because I am a project manager as well. So the two working together where there's no confusion, that should sit with your project management. It's not going to produce a schedule for you because that's should be getting produced by the project management part. But you can track, I will say, those enabling actions. You can track whether they're started, whether whether they're in progress, whether they're closed. So you can get that there. Okay, so the enablers do give you all your enabling actions that you said you're going to do against each stakeholder. And that's, in terms of a list, in your change management solution report, you can hit view on the detailed, view the detailed enablers. It will give it to you there. That's where you'll get your list with information about those actions. I have a question related to the stakeholder mapping and privacy. It may be faster if I ask you directly, if you unmute us. I'm happy to chat after, if you like. I'll just run through these questions, and at the end I will actually unmute, and if anybody wants to stay on and ask me further questions, happy to do that with you. So just in a few minutes. Are there limits to how many people can be logged in at a time? No, there's not. I mean, look, if we get 1 million users, I might have to do something about that, but at the moment, no. Does the license cost cover the half-day training on how to use the tool? No, it doesn't. The license cost covers the use for a year. You'll find the half-day bootcamp course, though, has been priced to make it very easy for you at $89. Okay, so if you want to go on the bootcamp half-day to learn all about it, it's $89. Where is the tool placed? Hey, Gerald. Gerald and I worked a long time ago, very long time ago. But yeah, where is the tool placed? To augment PMO tools or augment them? Does this tool integrate with Jira? You probably missed the start, I'd say, Gerald. At this stage, not looking to integrate with other tools. And that's to keep it change management focused and keep it secure at the moment. How long is data stored for? As long as you are a customer, for as long as you are a customer. Okay, there's a period, I think, of 6 months afterwards. So you don't just lose it immediately. And high charity. All right, I think that's all in the chat at the moment. So what I will do, go back. In fact, what I might do is we might unmute everyone and see if there's any further questions. Give me 1 second. Okay, it should be asking if you'd like to unmute. So if you have any questions, happy to any further questions. It's now 1:57, I notice, so just a couple more minutes. I think there's another chat. This is all very exciting. Thanks, Charity. It certainly is.
All right, Stephen, am I audible?
All right, Rodan, is it? Yep. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, that's me. Hi. So thank you. Advantages are coming through program, portfolio, enterprise level. The integrated way is really nice. My question was really going into the stakeholder mapping. I have usually tracked stakeholders to individual level, not Bendigo branch or Parramatta branch, but individuals.
Yes.
Now, given it's a cloud-based tool, we may run into Privacy Act 1988 or GDPR concerns about the privacy. So how are you handling this particular issue? Because I usually work on complex, large, multinational, cross-cultural program. So how would I need to handle this particular issue? Thank you.
So, I mean, in terms of privacy, the privacy policy that will come with this is GDPR compliant. Okay, so it covers Australia, Europe, supports the rules that come, and Europe's a little bit more strict than Australia in that regard. So it covers that. So as long as people are accepting that, there is not much personal information that is actually collected by the change roadmap. You know, just basic things like your name and your phone number, and your not even your phone number, your address, email address, etc. So they're the two things that that cover the privacy, mainly through that privacy policy. I mean, you'll see the privacy policy if you go to the website, and you'll be able to have a read of all of it there as to how that's handled. So in agreeing to that, then you agree to that personal information, and then of course all users have login. So in terms of security around that, there's obviously a user login, and there's also two-factor authentication that will be used for any login. One thing, sorry, Rodan, just one thing you just reminded me of there. You know, you talk about stakeholder at individual level. That's certainly what it can do. It can go right down to, you know, as specific as you want to be. Now, some of that information could be sensitive, you know, even within your own organisation.
Indeed.
One thing I didn't mention is that now the change roadmap will default to anyone who's got access to the change roadmap in your organisation. So who you give it to will be able to view the initiatives. But then you can restrict on a particular initiative, you can restrict users. So you can go to a specific one and say, okay, I don't want that one being viewed by, you know, other people.
Yeah.
So you can handle it that way as well.
Yeah, because I think Big Four got into trouble when they were tracking some stakeholders in Canberra, leading to programs. So yeah, that was also to be my question. Okay, thank you. I'll definitely go through your website and familiarize it. Looks good. So good job. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Hey, Steve, I've got a question quickly. It looks great. But I'm in an organization with over 5,000 people. Is there a way to upload a CSV of establishment data rather than manually, or will it have to be a Mr. Jones kind of thing?
Look, there isn't one at the moment because we're just starting out, but it has come up. And I think if you have a lot, you know, if you have, 100 projects already happening, and that's a lot of data entry, you come and talk to us, and we might be able to work, some sort of automated upload to be able to get you going. Because I realize, I know myself from entering the data, if you've got 100 projects, that you got a little exercise to get yourself going.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks for that.
Okay.
Hey, Stephen. It's good to see you again. How are you doing? It's Gerald.
How are you, Gerald?
Good. I won't turn on the camera. It's a bit
bad hair day, Gerald.
A bit rough today. I've just been for a run. I haven't shaved, so that's why I was a bit late. I'm sorry. What I was getting at, I didn't mean with the PMO. I didn't mean does it augment it or does it augment it, or does it augment it or does it replace it? Because you have PMO tools, of course, that operate at these various levels too. But this goes another level deeper. So would you use this change group tool to replace an existing PMO?
Gerald, I would say it supplements the offerings of a PMO. It doesn't replace it, definitely, because the PMO has various aspects to it, project management in particular, as well as other areas of discipline.
Yes.
There aren't many that have a change management function yet.
Yes.
So,
as we know, change management hived off from project management about the early 2000s because project management has different focus. Project management is to deliver. Project management was not focused on embedding, which is what change management is all about. So yes, really, eventually what I'm seeing is that a PMO and change management tool should be integrated. So
absolutely, absolutely, yes.
you can cover both aspects of the project at the same time. Yes, what I saw was impressive. Good to see you. You look healthy. Past my spec days. Yes, a good presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Gerald. All right, we are past 2, so unless there are any further questions, feel free. You know, the website will be up shortly after, so you can explore to your heart's content on there. I've just given you the initial view. You can contact me on the website. Is emails, phone, whatever way you'd like to contact me. Catch up for a coffee, whatever.
Okay.
Happy to talk further. And we will do demos for people. If people would like a demo, a fuller demo, I just gave you one, and it's kind of similar, but yeah, for your organization, if you would like it.
Is there a free version we can download for 30 days or something?
What you can do, and it will say this on the website, when you buy it, you have a 14-day refund period. So if for some reason you decide after 14 days it's not for you, you'll be refunded.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can play with it. One thing I do recommend, if you're going to play with it, it's not just the software tool. Because it's the whole framework and the whole thing works together, you do need a little bit of learning first. And it might just be watching that framework video. That's all. But don't just jump into the technology part and think, I'll just play with that and it's all good. Because it may not give you the full picture of what it's doing and why it's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this does handle waterfall, iterative, and agile, doesn't it?
Exactly. I didn't get to go into all the features, but that process aligns to how project life cycles run. And if you're doing agile, it aligns to multiple releases. So iterative, development, it will also align to that by multiple adoption periods. Yeah.
Now, you were saying that all managers should have a look at this. But of course, many tasks are, I don't know if I'm keeping you, but many tasks are associated with an actual programmer or an actual individual to produce something, whether it be a bit of code or reporting or whatever. So would you suggest that these people, or is it necessary for these people to have access to the tool to update their tasks?
As I think I mentioned earlier, well, firstly, this is where we cross into that project management area. Tasks would most likely be kept in a schedule. However, the detail of change activities is in the change roadmap, and you can update those anytime you like. So with change management, of course, it has to be quite adaptable to, that's not working, we change it, we do this, whatever is required for that stakeholder. So you can go in and you can update those activities, those tasks that you are meant to be doing, in real time.
So it's basically a level up from an individual task. It's looking at the levels in terms of a change management, change management initiative, as it were, or a small part of an initiative, as opposed to an individual task.
Yeah, that's right. It's not focused on tasks and allocating tasks, which is, I would call that project management space. But it is saying these are the tasks we need to do for this stakeholder to help them transition.
Yeah, roll up.
That's where it focuses. Why it's change management focused. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll pull my head in now.
That's fine, Gerald. That's fine. All right. I better wrap it up. We're slightly over. I notice there's more in the chat. I'll have a look at those afterwards. As I said, feel free to contact me. If you have further questions, happy to take them. So I'm going to finish the way I started with some music. Thank you very much, everybody.